I don't play mobile games, and it's not because I'm a tech snob, it's just because I can't trust myself. If I was to play games on mobile, frankly, humanity would never see me again. So I'm really delighted that Cubic Games is busy porting over some of the best received and distinguished mobile games to PC and console, because then I get to experience it, but also without the microtransaction hell that most of these games often come with. Mob Control is definitely one of those games that fits into that category because I've seen so many YouTube ads for it and on Twitter as well. I swear the thing was stalking me for years, so it's delighted to get my mitts on it and actually play the thing. It's a versus tower defense game that plays a little bit like pinball aggressive mode, where you have a cannon that you can equip with various troops and champions to shoot out, and they become your mob that run towards and run aimlessly really towards the opponent's tower to try and kill it. Where you shoot your troops will be crucial because the enemy's doing the same back to you, so you need to kind of run them and clash into each other so that you overpower each other, and different troops have different abilities and stats. So it's almost like rock paper scissors, where certain troops are better at killing others than others and vice versa. And eventually you'll also be looking at how you can shoot out weapons, your mobs, so that you can then hit the multiplier gates, because the more multiplier gates you hit, the bigger groundswell of your mob it becomes. So if you get through a X10 gate, then you'll get 10 of each enemy that gets through it. But they're quite often moving around, so if you time it right, you can get several gates all at once, and suddenly 10 troops becomes 50 troops becomes 200. The game then really, really chugs on the PS4 version that I bought as soon as you start to get into really big numbers. And so just be careful, because I was always like, is this going to crash? It never did, but it felt like it was going to when it's going at like 4 frames a second at best. Aside from that, the removal of microtransactions I thought was good, because it's got this kind of booster pack version of trying to get you to upgrade your troops, your champions and your cannon, and some special effects that you can bring as well. But it dished it out quite liberally, and whilst there is that RNG element of sometimes you're getting upgrades for things that you're not using, so it kind of stretches things out a little bit, you have to have the booster pack and in-game cash to upgrade things, so it's just making sure that you have what you want aligned, and sometimes that took a little bit longer than I would have liked perhaps to get to the end. And that's kind of my theme for this review, is that this game feels slightly stretched out beyond its means, and I think the main reason for that is the lack of level design. It really, really hampers the later game experience of Mob Control. There's some good level design in here. There's ones where you get on rafts and you go back and forth. There's ones where you've got different lanes and there's blockers inside, so you have to have 50 troops of your own before it kind of pushes a wall forward and then it collapses and stuff like that. More of that, please, is really what I wanted. But there's too much of this, just a couple of lanes, some gates moving around, and it felt very cookie cutter, rinse and repeat. And if there was more time spent on a variety of level designs where you really had to think more strategically about where you sent things and when, this game would be so much more superior than the almost brain disengaged mareness that this ends up becoming. And I can totally see why this succeeds so well as a mobile game, because you don't have to really think too much about it, but you get that satisfaction loop as the mob expands and explodes across your screen and you feel all like powerful and conquering. That then translated into a console game where you sit down to play it means that it feels like a lesser experience. And it's a really interesting thing there about sometimes the platform and the mode of what and the environment of where you're playing stuff actually has a really either positive or detrimental effect to the actual experience. So for me, Mob Control is fun initially, but it got stale quite quickly, and it's one of those games where I think being mobile is probably the best way to play this, where you're not having to think too much about it, or you're playing this while, I don't know, watching a program that's also equally like you only need half your brain for, because as soon as you want to engage in this game properly, it starts to fall flat. Written review over on higherplanegames.com. Take care.
Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.